Hello, Evil Dead fans, and welcome to Hail to the Chin, the special podcast for the smash hit star show Ash versus the Evil Dead. We have the honor this episode of welcoming a very special guest, Danny Hicks. You may know him as Jake from the Evil Dead 2. Danny, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here or there.
Thank you for coming on the show. We're all massive fans of Evil Dead. So, Sam, I know you've got a question to lead right in with.
Yeah, I mean, Danny, playing the role on Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2. Sorry. How did that come about? I mean, from the beginning, can you tell us how you got into the role?
Well, yeah, actually, most people don't know this, but that was actually my first feature film.
Okay.
And even though that we were all from the same area in Detroit, I'd never met those guys. I'd never met Bruce or Sam or Rob Tappert or any of those people because I was more of a theater actor and they were into film. So I got a call from my agent one day and they wanted me to audition for the show, for the movie. So the character description was Scuzz Bucket, I think. So
Right.
I made myself as scuzzy bucketed as I could, and I went down and auditioned for the movie. And I'll never forget Sam Raimi looking at me after the auditioning, saying, he said, "Wow, an actor without an ego. How wonderful." That's it. That's how I got the part.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's the thing about the character Jake. I mean, hands down, he's the most popular character in the entire trilogy, other than obviously Ash. But he's also a character that people really hated at the same time. I mean, how do you go about portraying a guy like that? Because you kind of achieved the same thing on Darkman, where you were like a really sort of like a not likable character, but very likable at the same time.
Well, it's funny because I went into the movie and all the way through the movie in both the Evil Dead 2 and Darkman. I just played the character as I thought the character would react, and I didn't really care about the audience. That's somebody else's job. I just try to get to the heart of the character and then do it. But I remember Sam at one point telling me that people are going to hate the character of Jake, and I said, no, how can they do that? He's just looking for Bobby Joe. He just wants to find true love. And he says, trust me, Danny, when this movie comes out, you're going to have 800 kids jumping out and screaming, "No, you idiot!" And he was exactly what he thought. I mean, exactly. He knew exactly how the audience would react to my character. But as far as I'm concerned, as an actor, I guess it's good to be hated as long as they don't forget you.
Mm. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, I think when did I see Evil Dead 2? I think I must have been I think I was about 11 years old and shouldn't have been watching it, really.
Yeah.
But to be honest, Jake stands out massively, without a doubt. It's one of the greatest films ever made. And therefore, if Jake is in that film, it makes Jake one of the greatest characters of all time.
Well, that's high praise indeed. Very high praise. And I know in Europe, people consider it one of the greatest films ever made. We certainly didn't think that while we were shooting it and after we were done with it, because it really took a long, long time for the film to get any kind of traction with the audience. In fact, I would say that most of the fans that we have today probably weren't even born yet in 1987 when the film was released.
I was going to say, I was born in 1986, and, well, I've got there pipped by 1 year at least.
See, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, you certainly wouldn't have watched the movie when it originally came out.
Mm.
No, I think I remember watching Army of Darkness. It might have been, maybe 11, 12. And then as soon as I saw Army of Darkness, I realized that I'd already seen Evil Dead 2 with the whole intro of Ash being pulled back in time. And yeah, I mean, I just loved it. So what was it like? What's it been like going to all the conventions over the years and meeting all these, like, this diverse but diehard collective of fans?
It's been really interesting, very interesting. I mean, from a point where nobody had ever heard of the movie until now. I mean, it's so popular that it's unbelievable to all of us. All the actors in the Evil Dead trilogy. It's really cool. I'll tell you a quick story about how popular it's become. Is of course a lot of us do these conventions, horror conventions, and I'll walk into like a conference room that's full of Evil Dead fans, and all I got to do is say, Bobby Joe! And just go crazy. It's really fascinating. It's really a very good time.
What's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you at a convention? Do people come up to you with like, weird requests or?
Yeah, all the time. I've signed an awful lot of body parts that would be X-rated. And the first time it ever happened to me, it was a very attractive young lady, and she had the Evil Dead skull. On her butt. Let me just put it that way. So she asked me to sign it, so I did. And about 3 hours later, she came back with my name tattooed.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I hope your husband likes me. And then I was in Chicago a few months ago at a big horror convention, a Wizard World, and they built a replica of the cabin. And there was a guy outside of the cabin dressed as Jake. He was portraying me. So I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, you want to take a picture with me?" He says, "Yeah, but I got to charge you $5." He had no idea who I was. So
that's cool.
You should. I'll pay you the $5, but you've got to give me $2.50 of it, my cut.
Yeah. And now I paid him the money. I thought it was great.
Oh, amazing. Now, Danny, when it comes to the Evil Dead universe, and even with talking about, it's nice to get a point of view from the actors in the Evil Dead series that can tell us exactly how sort of infamous Raimi's torture on set can be. I mean, it's rather infamous on the Evil Dead, but in Evil Dead 2, in my opinion, your death scene is quite possibly the bloodiest death scene in Hollywood, and to which my eyes have ever seen as well. What exactly did you go through to achieve that? That looked like an incredibly uncomfortable scene. Could you talk us through it at all, please?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's probably the most uncomfortable scene I've ever done. Physically, it was absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And poor Sarah Bareilles had to drag my fat ass all the way across that cabin down the hallway. It was so hot, and she was working so hard. And in the movie, you can see her actually hitting me because she was.
Oh, really?
She hated me because she had to drag me across that thing. And then what it was, we had a 55-gallon barrel full of fake blood and a high-pressure pump hooked up to a fire hose that would empty that 55 gallons in like 3.5 seconds. So the first time we did that scene, I was hanging upside down from a trapeze, and they didn't quite have the hose pointed in just the proper direction, and the blood came up, hit the trap door, and came right back up my nose. Oh. I almost drowned, and then of course we had to reset and do it again. So it was interesting. It was a lot of fun. It was very, very interesting.
You see, from watching all of the behind the scenes kind of DVD sort of like extras these days, all the backstage footage, it seems like you must have been walking around some kind of mad professor's laboratory with all of Sam Raimi's crazy contraptions of how he was going to film this scene, how he was going to film that, and all these sort of like animatronics and different things. Was it interesting every day walking on set, just seeing these zany contraptions?
Well, a lot of that, first of all, being on a movie set is probably it's the coolest thing in the world. But a lot of that stuff was actually put together outside of my presence, But we could go into the makeup lab and stuff and see the great creations, and watching these guys get into makeup every day was incredible. I mean, poor Ted Raimi. I mean, the latex they put on him, that poor bastard. I mean, we really thought we were going to kill him. I mean, and it was so hot. And I'll never forget, they're taking that costume off of him, and they cut the boot off of his one foot and tipped it upside down, and it was full of sweat. Oh, I mean, there's like 1.5 inches of sweat in the bottom of that boot. I thought, oh, that poor bastard. So, but it's cool. I mean, it was my first feature film, and so it was just endlessly fascinating to me. Everything was new and interesting.
Did did you become victim to any of Sam Raimi's sort of punishment, or did he just save that for Bruce?
Oh no. Well, first of all, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. He does torture you horribly, but he does it in a way to get what he wants. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not intentionally being mean, but no, he'll do that with all of his actors. I remember we were working on Spider-Man 2, and there's a scene where Spider-Man is trying to stop this runaway subway train, and it's on the elevated tracks, and and Sam, instead of sitting over looking at the monitor, doing whatever a director is supposed to do, he's standing down in front of the wind machine, throwing hands full of gravel and chips of wood up in the machine, sort of blow right in our faces. So he got the effect that he wanted. It's just, but he wasn't intentionally being mean. He just wanted to look like we were suffering, and we were suffering.
But it definitely.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but it definitely worked because obviously everyone will pretty much state that Spider-Man 2 is probably the greatest comic book movie of all time, and that is one of the best ever scenes in cinema. Is the whole subway train, the elevated train scene, without a doubt.
Well, thank you very much. It took us forever to shoot that. I can't remember how long it was, but it was a long time, especially in the film world. Where it's $1 million a day to shoot something. I think we worked on that show for at least 2 or 3 weeks on that shot.
Wow.
So it was great. Yeah.
Dean?
When it comes to you were saying you do a lot of theatre act in the past, Danny, and I don't know whether you're doing any at the moment particularly. I was curious as to how exactly would you get yourself ready for going into a role exactly like Jake? I mean, I guess it can be kind of easy for some people to just play an arsehole, but Jake comes across as just, I don't know, like you were saying, Sam, what was it Sam exactly told you to portray?
Scumbag.
A scumbag. Did you just stroll on set and just be like, right, I'm doing this, or did you go through any sort of procedures in becoming Jake almost?
Not really. I'm not much of a method actor.
No.
I mean, the way I approach a role is first of all, I read the script several times, and I take what other characters say about the character I'm portraying, and then I just start thinking about, all right, what kind of person would say these words, and that's where the character stems from, And with Jake, I'll give you an example. When he picks up the shotgun, he goes, that's right, I'm running the show now. It's just only a certain type of person would say those lines, say those words. So that's how I go about, coming up with the character I portray. And thankfully, Scott Spiegel and Sam Raimi made that easy for me, because the way the words that were written for the character were just incredibly good. I mean, they were very descriptive, and it wasn't too hard for me to come up with the character after reading the dialogue.
Because it was quite a nice, like a juxtaposition where you had two characters, you had Ash and Jake, who were so similar but so opposite at the same time. They both were so headstrong and full of themselves and what they wanted to achieve, but in different kind of ways, two different kind of characters, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, in fact, that's true. One of my favorite scenes in that movie is where Jake and Ash are on top of the trap door.
Oh yeah.
Trying to keep Henrietta out, and it bumps up 3 or 4 times and then stops, and we both look at each other, and that little bit of shared look right there, just, I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever done in a movie. Just that little look that Bruce and I give each other. I mean, it's just
let's put our differences aside.
We got bigger trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one last question. It's coming to us via Twitter from Deadites Online, deadites.net. Basically, it's, will Jake, or do you think Jake will be making a cameo in the new show Ash versus Evil Dead, maybe as a wise sage returning from hell?
Well, I would certainly I'd love to do that. The biggest problem with that is the fact that they shoot it in New Zealand, so it would be pretty much cost prohibitive, to do a cameo on the show. But then again, who knows? If it's renewed for several seasons, maybe it'll be worth it to them to bring not only myself, but Betsy Baker and Timmy Quill and all those people in for the cameos. I know the fans would really like it.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we spoke to Betsy the other day, and she was up for it. So
yeah, Betsy's really, and Tim Quill. Tim Quill's I think he would kill to get on that show. So, in fact, when we were all in Chicago not too long ago, somebody brought it up in the audience when we were doing a question and answer, and there was several thousand people that kind of lost their minds at the thought of us being all together again on the show. So,
yeah, I
would love to do it, but unfortunately, that's not up to me. It's up to the money people more than anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Sam, anything else?
No, I'm all good.
Dean?
No, I'm all good as well. I just needed. It's bothered me for so long. How on earth, Danny, you survived that particular death scene in the in the basement there?
Well, it was just a film. It was a film. It was a film.
Oh, I know, but even for how much that film shocked me, I just want to add as well, Danny. Thank you for basically confusing me and intriguing me as a child watching The Evil Dead 2, because The Evil Dead scared the living hell out of me. I couldn't sleep for at least a week, and I had to flick. Yeah, it really, really bothered me when I was a kid. But then I remember staying up late one night. It's more of me telling you a story. I just want to say how much I've appreciated you for making being a part of a universe of movies that has really, really affected me in my life. But I remember, and you talking about the scene of you and Ash sitting on the basement door. It was at that point I kept flicking. It was one night I was up very late watching the Sci-Fi Channel. Evil Dead 2 was on, and I sat there and I was like, "Oh Christ, that's the sequel of the movie that really scared me about 5 years ago." So I'm jumping backwards and forwards on it because I'm too scared to sit there and watch it. But then there's the scene of yourself and Ash jumping up and down. Knocking Tim into the basement, and then obviously you jump on and there's the eye popping scene where it shoots into Bobby Joe's mouth. It was just there. I got so confused. I was like, this is supposed to be scary, but why is this funny? It's quite possibly the first time I felt so confused watching a horror movie.
They made you laugh. That's all thanks to the genius of Sam Raimi. To make a movie that's funny and scary is no simple feat. But Sam he's just an absolute genius. In fact, I'll never forget when I was reading the script for the first time, the scene where Ash cuts his hand off and puts a trash can over it and stacks a stack of books on it so it doesn't run away. And the camera went back to reveal the title of the top book. And it's A Farewell to Arms.
Yeah, Farewell to Arms.
I said, okay, now I understand this script a little bit better. They're not really taking themselves all that seriously.
No, yeah.
I just thought that was absolutely wonderful.
But yeah, thank you so much for being such an amazing guest as well on the show, as well as just an amazing character in Jake.
Well, thank you very much. High praise indeed.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I have another question quickly. With obviously your role in Darkman, did Sam Raimi ever joke that he would cut off your leg?
Not that I remember, but I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all. There were actually times when I wish you would have cut it off. Because it was before the CGI effects were really popular. So I had to wear a harness that strapped my leg up to my back. And it was very painful. I could only do it for about an hour. And then we had to undo the straps and everything else and straighten my leg out and massage the hell out of it for about 20 minutes. So, but yeah, knowing Sam, he could have very well suggested he'd probably cut both my legs off. I get twice the performance.
All right. Okay. All right, Danny. Well, as we said, thank you so much for coming to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. We really appreciate it. Big fans of your work, and there's a lot of people out there who are also big fans of your work. And, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Can I put a plug in here?
You can do whatever you want.
I have a new movie coming out this spring. It's called Elder Island. It's based on a true story. and it should be out sometime this spring. So, all your listeners, I hope you guys look for it. And actually, myself and Timmy Quill are both in it.
Oh, excellent.
Double the evilness.
Oh,
So
we'll definitely check that
spring.
out for sure.
Can people catch you on social media at all?
Yeah, Facebook. I really don't have a web page, but Facebook, my fan page, and just a regular Facebook account.
Okay, excellent.
Just fire away. I'll be happy to respond to them as soon as I can.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Danny.
Thank you very much.
Some spell I can say to undo all this. The other first thing I got to do is some cardio, because my heart is jackhammering like a quarterback on prom night. Here's the plan. We bust in there, fight through the carnage, let the boomstick do the talking. Things get hairy, use your bottle.
I don't think it's a very good weapon, Jefe. You had to stab like 50 times.
I was sharpening it for you. Now, come on. You ready?
I'm ready.